Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we always love talking about United Way of the MidSouth. That's why we're honored to have with us their president and CEO, Tomeka Hart Wigginton. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. I feel like I need to, run down the aisle like, woo, on The Price is Right. Jeremy, I am so good. I'm so excited. It's been since December 2nd. It's been a whirlwind, but I am absolutely having a ball in this role and excited about where we can go.
Well, we are super excited you're in this role as well. And when you look at, knowing you for a long time as a change maker in our city, you've done so much, you're doing so much, and I think you're the perfect person to step into this role. Perfect time, perfect person. And so let's kind of start with a little bit of your backstory, because when you talk about your career in education, working with foundations, you cover such a broad spectrum, serving on very important, powerful boards in our city. You've always been heavily committed to community. And so give us a little bit of background. When you frame your background, your experiences that have led you to this moment, how do you frame that background?
Well, thank you. I'll start with the end first. What you said about perfect, person for this role. What I really concluded, or what made me get into the race for the United Way role, was that it was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity for me for this vision that I've always had. And so I'm a native Memphian, born and raised. Was born, coming from a working poor community and family, North Memphis. Born and then spent most of my upbringing in Fraser. My mom, my sister still live in Fraser, so I'm a child of Fraser. Graduated from Tresvant High School, very proud graduate of Tresvant High School. And I tell that as part, you'll hear why I always bring that up. So I went away, first generation college student, went to University of Tennessee, and it was there that things start, there's a world outside of Memphis, and there's no city I love more than Memphis, but I started learning a lot and I started connecting some dots. And one of the dots I connected was, while I love Tresvant, I quickly learned that Tresvant was under-resourced as compared to other than Memphis City schools even, right? And so I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I had to be a teacher at that point, because I realized it's the adults in communities that can help kids who grew up like me, poor and disconnected from resources. So that led me to be a teacher. But I also wanted to be a lawyer. Now, there's no connection between me saving the world and being a lawyer. I have to tell you, it was Perry Mason that made me, and Matlock, and shows like that made me want to be a lawyer. I'm a child of Encyclopedia Brown, right? And so I was like, I'm always, in that. So I wanted to be a lawyer. I taught 5 years in Georgia, and I came back home to practice law, to go to law school, to practice law. And while I love being a lawyer, I'm a labor and employment lawyer by training. I practiced law for 4 years. Within the first year, second year of law, I knew, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm working for corporations. I'm helping them, through their employment issues, including some, hefty discrimination issues that I'm trying to train against and then have to defend against. And that was, pretty good work. I feel, I'm serving the workforce in a way that companies need to treat them the way they should be treated. But that wasn't what it wasn't a purpose. And I realized then, I want to live a life of purpose. And I decided to run for school board out of no other reason than education is the thing that I want to do, but not go back into the classroom. And so I ran for school board with absolutely no clue of what it means to run for office or serve in office. But that was life-changing work. For me, it was the hardest thing, but yet still the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I served for 9 years on the school board, as you know, and I realized it is that ability to serve community, to be accountable to community, and to then, come back and figure out how do I have power to then return it to community for the community's growth, right? And always with the lens of people who grew up like me, poor and under-resourced and need the support. So that led to a lot of different things, including leaving the law practice and got into nonprofit world through the Urban League. And so the Urban League and the school board combination were really this is it. Nonprofits, government working together have to solve community problems. So I've been on that mission since, it's like 2007, and I've been on that mission since. I got into ultimately philanthropy work because again, I'm always trying to get to where is power and how do I get and get that power to people who need power. And so through politics and philanthropy, I've kind of guided things that I've done. And my journey through philanthropy, this will be my 10th year in philanthropy. And my journey to it about 3 years ago, I realized it is philanthropy, but I want it to be mainly public facing, public accountability, philanthropy. And thus, when Dr. Robinson announced his retirement in June, I was at that point like, what am I going to do next? I had stepped away. I was a consultant at that time, and he announced his retirement, and immediately my heart jumped. And I was obsessed with it. It never left. So from the time he announced his retirement, they posted that job maybe a month later. I had already had all of my documents written. I was in, and I was in at that point. And so that's what led me here. Everything I've done, teaching, even practicing law, all the nonprofit work has led me to this because I know that there's power in philanthropy like United Way.
Yeah, and I think too, in each one of those moments, I mean, obviously you knew a higher purpose in terms of your calling, but when you look back and you realize, okay, education, philanthropy, politics, the corporate side, like all of those experiences then culminating to stepping into this role where you can use all of that to be able to power the good. And so when you talk about United Way of the Mid-South, talk about it from your lens now. So obviously we talked about your background and what attracted you to the role, but when you talk about United Way of the Mid-South, talk about the organization.
Yes. Yes. So my history with United Way of the Mid-South started when I became CEO of the Memphis Urban League in 2007, right? So I'd never been a CEO. I was actually like, I'm going to apply for this job, but they're going to laugh at me, they're not going to pick me to be the CEO of the Urban League. I've never been the CEO of anything. And lo and behold, I get it. And it is a United Way agency. So my leadership, understanding of leadership was shaped the 6 years of CEO as a United Way agency, right? They were a humongous part of our budget, thus a humongous part of the resources and how they would convene us. And I learned a lot about how you work with other organizations, how do you manage a budget? How do you have outcomes, right? Because I had a funder like United Way that was pushing because they cared about outcomes. And so that was my first journey. In that, though, that means I learned the challenges also of what it means to be a CEO of a United Way agency, right? So I understood all of that. Years later, like you said, and I would love to think that all of those things were plotted and aligned purposely, intentionally, like I'm going to teach and I'm going to do this because one day I'm going to run the United Way. Every time I take another role, it's because I was looking for, that was like, okay, I came to, went to Gates Foundation, right? And into the impact I was trying to have. I wanted to be a funder. I wanted to support communities, and especially and including Black and Brown, communities of color. I got a chance to do that at Gates, and I loved it. By the third year of my 4 years there, I was like, yeah, there's something though that I'm missing. What is it? And it began to be, I really want to work closer to the ground, right? I was doing national funding and it was fascinating work. I mean, it was really great work, but I wanted to be closer to the ground. Thus the opportunity with Blue Meridian. And so, but at this point, I realized I'm still trying to get closer to community. I'm trying to think about the power of funding at the local level. And Blue Meridian allowed me to do that. And even that, as great as it was, and I'm still very close to my colleagues at Blue Meridian, I really wanted to say, I want to be actually the backbone that can work with everything you just said: corporations, private philanthropy, government, community. And I was also a funder of United Way at that time. So I was managing an investment with United Way of Atlanta. So for 3 years, I'm seeing what a United Way can do when they have flexible funding to do things differently. And I still hadn't thought about United Way. And then, like I said, Dr. Robinson retired. And for the first time, I was thinking like, okay, every time I've done something else, at that time, it was the perfect job at that time. And it let everything I had done before it made it possible for that. I didn't know that the end of it, and I say end because I'm going to retire from this place. So there's no other job after this one. I did know the culmination would be actually every single thing, from teaching, from my volunteering, on boards back here in Memphis before running for office, teaching, even practicing law as a labor and employment attorney, and philanthropy and policy and advocacy and practice. It all rolls up here. And it's just what I just said. There's no organization more perfectly poised and positioned to be that great backbone intermediary that can bring all of those parties together in a way that's seamless. And it's about, here are the agreed upon goals and outcomes that we know if we do these things, if we pool our money, pool our resources, pool our, talent, and our programs and practices, we can get to these outcomes. And the last thing I'll say, I knew that I was also wanting to work somewhere that can get to population level outcomes. So it's one thing to be able to do your project level, right? So you're serving 50 kids, and we need people to do that. Somebody has to be able to hold the entire container of the population. We're in 8 counties across 3 states, right? Our reach is big. Now, we have to expand our reach. We're not actively in all of those 8 counties, but we will be. And that's the goal, one of the goals that I have, that we will get to population level outcomes for this community, that we can say, I'm just making this up because we're still working on it. I want to be honest, but we can say 15 years, poverty is eradicated because the United Way did these things by bringing these organizations together and change systems in this way.
Give a little context there, because I think this is important. When you talk about the important role that United Way of the Mid-South plays, you have the intersection of corporate funding and convening and leadership there, the nonprofits that you work with and the financial support you provide, but working through them on the programmatic side, the outcome side, direct interface side, working with the schools and the education side, working with the politicians. So in other words, to your point, you are a convener, but you're also a funder. So yeah. You play a lot of very important roles in underpinning for the community at large. So talk about the important role that United Way of the Mid-South plays.
Yeah, so the role we play now, it's a little bit of all that you just said. I do want to strengthen and be more explicit about our convening power and role and activate that more, bring people together with resources that are not just about funding, that are not just about we get money and give a grant, right? There's a lot of work to be done and that the community, on which the community can benefit. But the role United Way plays right now, we do have that reach that you just said, right? Few organizations, we're not the only one, but few organizations can be at the grassroots level, but also talking to, the mayor, the governor, even in Congress, even, right? And the CEOs of the largest corporations in this community. And so because we have them all as a partner, and we are getting much better, like Dr. Robinson was very innovative in an initiative that we'll talk about called Driving the Dream, right? Which really is a coordination of a lot of the agencies that provide service to communities that we serve, right? These are mostly people who are living in poverty that we're able to, with one phone call, one website request, we can connect them to multiple service versus them having to spend all day trying to figure out who can help me with housing and who can help me with my food insecurity. We have built that coordination. It's 10 years in now. I'm digging through that data to learn a lot. There are stories in that data, right? And so that's what we're doing right now, right? We get money from state, we get money from federal government, we get money from corporations, and we use that money to then build this network that supports our community better. That's where we are now, where we're going to expand that. We're going to continue that. We're going to figure out what really is the right level for us, like funder, convener, right? Provider, like where should we be? Let's be really clear about who we are, who we serve, and how. And I think most important, what are we trying to do, right? So we serve people, and I can give you data, right? We have a great number of people that we help who we can say their housing conditions improve, right? Their income conditions improve. These things improve. But that's different than saying in 8 years, these 30 organizations are going to come together and, stabilize housing to the extent of this percentage, right? In these communities. I want us to get to where we're able to do that. I can't do that without having widespread community conversations. We have over, 85 organizations that we work directly with, 200 and some more indirectly, that are serving like 25 some thousand people. So that's a lot of people, right? That's a lot of government. That's 8 different governments, 8 different mayors I want to go see, 8 different superintendents, 8 different housing directors, corporations all across those 8 counties to come together to say, what is our best way to get the impact real impact, again, that we can measure so that we're not just talking about inputs. Because it's one thing to say, oh, we had 30,000 people call us, or we had these many people that we served, or these many people we gave food to. What I want to talk about is these many people came to us at this level, and we got 90% of them at the other level. And we continue to do that. And then we use that data to talk to the systems to say, here's what we're learning. Here's what we realized. When we did these things, housing happened in this way for this community. We should do more of that. And then start helping public sector realize the best ways to allocate their funding to get to the outcomes on which nonprofits are important. Nonprofits came about because government didn't know how to serve, right? And so we're going to always have our nonprofits, but imagine how our nonprofits can be doing other kind of work when our government can be more efficient and understand, but they need good partners to do that. And we want to be that good partner too.
Obviously, you're early on, so you are, just like you're talking about, you're digging into the information, you're looking at the vision casting. You've got a lot of amazing things, though, that are, working very well.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
an awesome opportunity. And as you mentioned, driving the dream in these programs that have been going now for over a decade. And so when you look at your vision and the way the community can help, talk about some of the things that tie in with how can the community help United Way of the Mid-South? How can we help realize the vision that you're crafting?
Yes. So I first have to say you can help by going to our website, right, which is uwmidsouth.org, one word, uwmidsouth.org. And there's a tab that says give. So the first thing people can do is make a contribution. I have to say that. But I think the others, all that I just said, we're going to, this is, I'm 2.5 months in. In the coming months, though, we're going to be starting our, tour and talk and listen. At first, I want to just listen. I'm not coming to, I wouldn't come to you and say, here's what I want to do. I first want to listen. Like, from your vantage, if you've had experience with us, tell us the good, the bad, the ugly. Tell us what we did really well. Tell us what you think we should do differently. Now, our first stop for that is our agencies that we fund already, right? And our funders that are given. So we having those conversations. I've been spending one-on-one time with every staff member and every board member, right? And I was overly ambitious, like I can have that done between December and January, but it's been illuminating, right? I'm learning a lot. Going to do that same thing with funders, past and present, with organizations that we've supported over the years, just to understand their story. Because I had a 6-year story too, so I get it. And again, ultimately, I think I want us to become as narrow a focus as we can get to get the best output that we can get, right? Us talking more about impact and not inputs. And that's really hard. And so that really is going to not just take the United Way, because we can't do it by ourselves, right? So even with driving the dream, it's 10 years in, even under the 10-year leadership with Dr. Robinson, it was one thing when it came. They've improved it and changed it a little bit. There's another, what's the next level for it, right? What does it look like to be truly collective impact, right? So one of the things could be, when you look across, we're doing a lot and we're serving a lot and we're measuring a lot. Do we need to say, okay, driving the dream, we're going to focus on these 3 big things, because we're a big enough organization that we can narrow and realize these other things are going to be tangential to the big things that we can push that others cannot. How are we convening? What's our role in housing? It's probably not to become a new housing organization. It's probably to help the existing housing organizations that's probably more disconnected network than they would like to be. They come together and then they leave, and they don't really have someone waking up every day thinking about what is their network, how are they coordinated, and who's in charge of that. I would love for us to be that. Now, mind you, I have a board, I have community, I have staff. I would need the housing community to say, oh, you'll be a good partner to do that, right? But I envision us doing that for multiple areas, and we'll decide, is it housing, is it education, is it workforce, what are the things. I'm going to keep saying housing because I really do want it to be housing, and thinking about, when there's the development side of housing, what is the United Way's role in showing up for a community? And so the way the community can help is to join with us and be a listening ear and help me learn. I don't think that's not going to happen overnight. I'm talking about probably an 18-month process, right? Because there's also 8 counties that we haven't really done deep work in. And so we'll figure out here's the best thing that United Way can do. So other organizations I want to talk to, so just mentioned Bridges, you got Literacy MidSouth, you got the Links, you got, LISC is what I meant to say. I'm sorry. You got Habitat for Humanity, you got all of these organizations that are doing all of this work. And I want to say, how do we come in as the best partner to help you all who are actually moving the work, who are actually providing the service? How can we come in, not in your way, but as your best support? Sometimes that means we'll raise the money and the money should come to us. Sometimes it might mean I'm just at the table with you. It doesn't make sense for the money to come to me, though. It's coming to you. But what I'm going to do is be a data partner or be whatever other kind of resources, right? We're part of a network of over 1,000 United Ways in this country, right? So my role in the Mid-South, in the state, in the South, in the country can play a role, right? Those are resources that we can bring that other organizations are not so, connected. So what is the role we'll play? What I want us to do is really be able to bring in resources. And the main thing that we say, we build capacity of community organizations, of government organizations, and even of private philanthropy and corporate philanthropy. We build their capacity to serve the community in a way that we can all look back and say, because we did this, these things happen.
Well, and United Way of the Mid-South plays such an integral, important role in our community for all the things that we've talked about before, and such an important role in your case. And I love the fact that you're coming in with a collaborative teamwork approach and saying we're going to play to our strengths, but we're also going to find the areas, the challenges that we can really step into, and then find those other organizations that we can accelerate what they're doing. So not reinventing the wheel, but let's accelerate that wheel so that it creates this positive, impact and ripple impact in the community. And so you never can say it enough in the world of media. Mention again, website, where do we go to learn more and plug in with United Way of the Mid-South?
Yeah, so our website is uwmidsouth.org. Also, all of our social media is under United Way of the Mid-South. And so, we're beefing up our social media. We're looking at that, and we wanted to start convening people and just having conversations. So when we do that, answer the call. And it won't always be a heavily agenda, right? It's like, let's come together and talk. Like, I don't know what you would be talking about, but our website, our social media, LinkedIn and Facebook are what we use regularly. And then you can just call us. We're right at 1005 Tillman. And so right in the heart of the town, come see us and talk to us. But really, I will be in touch with a lot of people soon. And I just want them to say yes when I want to come see them. If you're philanthropy, my first meeting won't be an ask. My second one will be an ask. But let's just talk and help us be better. But really, we're in this for the long haul. We've been here over 100 years. And so we are a resilient organization. We will continue to grow. We're strengthening our network within the worldwide United Way community and United Way Tennessee. And we're just doing all of that to bring back all these resources so that we can be more coordinated, more collaborative in this community that needs us so greatly.
Well, I know I said it in the beginning, but congratulations again. Super excited for the future ahead. Tomeka Hart Wigginton, President and CEO of United Way of the Mid-South. Thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having it. It's really great. Thank you, Jeremy.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.